Alright guys, I figured it's time for me to finally do the review on the Warren Thomas RC. Hold on, you have to excuse me for a second. I'm about to smoke a cigarette. I just got off work. Yeah, Warren Thomas RC. I've had this now for, I guess, shit, I don't even know, a week or a week and a half or something. I honestly forget. Anyways, I've had it long enough to know, and I've carried it enough to know a little bit about it. So, let's get on with it. Obviously, it's a titanium frame lock. You can see that. It's a titanium blade. This one's the all titanium blade. Warren makes these with a composite blades too. You know, half of it will be titanium, the other half will be G10 or carbon fiber. And if you get an RC, the RC model with a composite blade, the thickness is going to be 0.220. And if you get the titanium, the thickness is 0.190. And that's what he told me. Obviously, it's got titanium thumb studs, ambidextrous. He makes these. Well, he makes everything, but we'll get into that. It's obviously a full custom knife. It's all hand done by Mr. Warren Thomas. One of the things that impressed me about this knife right off the bat is that every edge of this knife is beveled. Whether it be a big bevel, a small bevel, or whatever, it's all beveled by hand. The top of the spine, you know, it isn't rounded per se or anything, but it is beveled on both sides by hand, by him. Obviously, it's ground by him, hand ground. I don't know if that's flat or hollow grind. I want to say it's like a really, I don't know. I think it's hollow ground, just barely right here, and flat ground up here. I'm not positive though, guys. I honestly can't tell. Yeah, I think it's hollow ground. It's hard to tell though. Other side is, I don't even know if y'all can see this fucking shit because I'm using a tripod. I don't really like using it because I don't know what the fuck you can see. Other side is the tungsten carbide edge. If you don't know what tungsten carbide is, look it up. I mean, I can give you a really brief explanation. Tungsten carbide is shit that a lot of machinists use it. It's used in a lot of drill bits to drill really hard shit. Rockwell hardness on tungsten carbide can be up to 80. Now, what Warren Thomas has it at, I'm assuming it's probably right around that, 80, 78, 80. I'm not positive, though. You know, he hasn't told me that to me, but I'm assuming it's probably around 80 HRC. So it's really good. Obviously, titanium's a lot softer, so that tungsten carbide is going to make up for that. Essentially, you can get this knife hair shaving sharp, and it's sharp enough to cut just about really anything for me. I mean, I've cut 20-ounce bottles, I've cut 2 liters, I've cut cardboard. My fat ass has opened up packages of candy. Sorry, I'm clearing my fat ass throat. What else have I cut? Wood. Pretty much everything. But the cool thing about this is, when this titanium wears down, it just exposes more of the carbide edge. Essentially, it sharpens itself. And it doesn't sharpen itself, you know, to a razor hair shaving edge. But, I mean, once more of these tungsten carbides, you know, show up, once you've worn the titanium down, it's sharp again. Sharp enough to cut. I mean, I don't have sharp enough to shave, but I don't shave with my pocket knives. And also, I don't cut a whole lot of fucking phone book paper. I've never really had to cut phone book paper. I don't even use phone books. I use my iPhone. I don't even have a fucking phone book. Anyways, I'm getting off subject. So yeah, I don't know if it cuts phone book paper. I really don't give a fuck if it cuts phone book paper, to tell you the truth. It's not something that I do on an everyday basis, or ever. So that's that. What else? You got the G10 travel, overstop travel for your lock bar. So whenever you're, you know, disengaged in a lock bar, you won't overextend it. It's great. I like it. I like how it's so simple. You know, it's one of those things you see and you're like, fuck, I wish I thought of that. I mean, it's just over top of the pivot bolt. And the pivot bolt is 2 males, a male on this side and a male on this side. It's all titanium, and it's a 5mm Allen key, or a 3/16. They both fit. 3/16's got a little slot, but it still works just fine. That's that. It's all titanium. Back here, again, same thing on the rear spacer. All titanium, 2 males, 5mm or 3/16. It's got a humongous spacer there. Honestly, that's the biggest spacer I've ever seen on any knife, any folding knife. It's huge. The pocket clip is held with that same screw that holds the spacer. It's, again, simple but genius. It's really solid pocket clip. I mean, this fucking pocket clip is great. It's not... It can be, you know, extremely strong because this is just smooth titanium. It's easy to pull it out of the pocket. It doesn't get snagged or anything, but it's really strong tension. It's really good. Titanium stop pin. This stop pin doesn't rattle around. It doesn't do any of that dumb shit that a lot of knives do. And it's round. It's not wound like an octagon or any of that shit. It's a round stop pin. It's all titanium stop pin. Then, of course, you have the G10. It's got his signature pattern. Kind of looks like, you know, some kind of Art Deco shit. It looks cool. I'm not making fun of it. That's what it looks like to me, Art Deco. This is blue and black G10. The lock bar cutouts, there's 3 cutouts, and they're on the inside. And if you'll notice, the lock bar cutout is a little bit higher up than on most knives. Most knives is like right about here. This one's right here. And what that means to me is, when you try to get this knife to, you know, induce up and down play, whenever you try to do that, it doesn't really have any because this lock bar cutout's high up. So, I mean, this lock bar does not really flex at all. This is hands down the most solid knife I've ever felt when it comes to up and down lockup. I mean, there's nothing. You can't make it even flex. You can't do anything. Like, I can get a Sabenza to flex. Of course, I'm really fucking prying on it. So keep that in mind. So that brings me to lockup. Lockup, up and down, solid. If I grab the very tip of this knife, like right here, and I really, really, really wrench down on it, I can get a little bit of a side-to-side flex, I guess you would say. It's not really play, I don't think. I think it's more of me flexing this titanium knife. I don't really like doing that, but I did it just because I'm overly anal. But let's just say the lockup is pretty solid. I don't know if I would quite call it Sabenza solid, left to right, but it's solid. So, you know, take that for what it's worth. It does not have any blade play, but you can get it to flex a little bit if you really, really try. Like, it damn near feels like I'm breaking it, so I wouldn't really call that blade play. What else we got? Warren Thomas, there's his initials. I think that's really cool. It's actually cut out in titanium. I don't know how much time I got here. I don't know what you would call this blade shape. I call it like a Tanto Spanto recurve. That's what I call it. Because you got your grind up here like a Tanto, but it's rounded like a spear point, and then you got, of course, the big recurve. And I don't know if Mr. Warren Thomas designed this. I'm sure he did. Well, this recurve fits right on an arm, you know, just to really fuck you up. But, so that's cool. Super fucking thick ass blade. The reason I chose the Warren Thomas RC over the Ryu or fuck, he has a lot, T-Rex or Model 2.5 or M19. I think it's called M19. He's got a bunch. He's got way more than I just said. But the reason I chose the RC over any of those is because I just wanted the most overbuilt knife, overbuilt folder he makes. So I guess you could argue that the T-Rex is a little bit more overbuilt than this, but not really. This has extremely thick titanium frame lock, an extremely thick titanium blade. It does not have a very fine tip. You know, the tip is fine, but it's not I'm not saying fine. It's like it works well, but it's not really, really fine. You're not bending this tip. You're not breaking it. You're not really doing shit to this knife. It's just extremely overbuilt, chunky, just a very chunky knife. It's fat like me. You know, obviously I like things that are fat because I'm fat and I like myself. I like this fat knife. F-A-T, I'm saying. That's why I chose the RC. And I like that it's just a beast. I mean, it's a huge knife. Here it is next to an iPhone case. This is a sweet-ass case my girlfriend got me, too. It's a wooden iPhone 4 case. It's so badass. There it is next to that. It's big, let's just say that. Really big. Another thing I wanted to mention about this knife, I don't know if I've covered everything. It's beveled right here in the lock bar to get your thumb in there to unlock it. The pivot, obviously it's huge. It's humongous, right? That's a big pivot bolt, really big. It's a big stop pin too. But the pivot on this knife is great. It's not like a Sebenza with a spacer or any of that shit. But what it is when you go to tighten this knife or loosen this knife, loosen the blade, you don't have to find that like super sweet spot, you know, or like a Benchmade, a lot of Benchmades, some Spydercos, but not very many, but a lot of Benchmades, you got to find the sweet spot. And if you're, you know, a hair too much, it's just won't even barely open. And if you loosen just a hair, it's just too loose and has blade play. This knife's not like that. When you adjust this pivot on this knife, it's easy to find a spot that you like. I tend to like my knives a little bit tighter than most, so I just turned it and it's fine, you know. And if I loosen it up, it doesn't become too loose or any of that. You understand what I'm saying. The pivot is good. To me, that means that the threading is well machined, well thought out, very precise. That brings me to my final point of fit and finish of this knife. The fit and finish, the blade does not move when closed at all. I mean, you can move it, but you really got to try to move it. It doesn't move. The fit and finish isn't as tight as like a Sebenza, but that's not to say it's not good fit and finish. For what it is, for the design, it's very good. This blade doesn't move. Everything is well aligned. The blade is dead center. When you adjust the pivot, the blade stays dead center, at least on mine. And it's just very well built. Extremely well built. Something doesn't necessarily have to have extremely tight, you know, a tight fit for it to be well built. Not saying this isn't tight. It is a pretty tight fit. It's just not like Sebenza, you know, fit. Sebenza fit. It's not that tightly fit together, but it is tight. Don't get me wrong. What else? It's got Teflon washers. I like Teflon washers, self-lubricating, I guess, or maybe that's the Nylotron washers. I don't know. Teflon washers are fine with me. This knife is 100% completely non-magnetic. Even the detent ball is ceramic, I want to say. Yeah, I think it's a ceramic detent ball. What else? Oh, yeah. Up here on the blade tang, you're not going to be able to see it because I'm filming this with an iPhone. But on the blade tang, there's like a half moon cut out on the side that meets up with the lock bar. And the reason for that is for the detent ball, when you're going to open the knife like that, it's just smoother. And when you're closing the knife, you don't really feel that detent ball. It's just a lot smoother. This knife doesn't necessarily fly out like a like a Hinder or something like that. It's not as loose feeling, and that's just because it's so light. Not to say it's not smooth, it's just not, you know, one of those knives where the blade will just drop when you close it. Which doesn't bother me at all. I actually like that, so I don't cut my dumbass hand. It's got a 4-inch blade. 4-inch blade. And I would say probably a 5 1/4 handle, so it's a big knife. If you have any questions about this, just leave a comment and let me know. And I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I'm really enjoying this knife. If you do get a chance to get a Warren Thomas, I'd highly recommend it. Alright, thanks guys. Later.